This week started off with some work on Monday morning, so I had been doing an art appraisal or evaluation of works. Basically, what that is we take a look at somebody's art collection and then we research similar pieces that had been sold at auction in the most recent months or years so that we're able to provide an estimate value for their collection. But after working a bit in the morning and after lunch, I went to meet up with my friend Giselle in a cafe to co-work. Honestly, we didn't really work that much. What we did mostly was catch up and crash out over the death of Pope Francis and freak out over the possibility of a conservative new pope. But yeah, after working, we're quote-unquote working, we just went around the mall, and this is us in a toy store trying to draw a capybara from memory. Obviously, we weren't very successful up until maybe this point. But yeah, one thing about me is I will always, or almost always, say yes to go co-work with friends. Just, for will to live and some social interaction. And I love the way my work setup is because I am able to do that on weekdays, even if it's a little bit spontaneous. But when I got home, I had dinner with my family and worked a little bit more before winding down for the night. My relaxation media of choice for this day was how to make a one noodle carbonara. But the next morning, I woke up, had breakfast first thing. I made some oatmeal for myself, and not gonna lie, oatmeal is not the most interesting breakfast ever, but I've been trying to kind of get my diet more in check, trying to eat a little bit better, so I decided to have oatmeal this day. I take my oatmeal with a little bit of brown sugar, and I tend to like mine to be more soupy, so that's why it's a little bit on the thinner side. But after having breakfast, I did make myself a matcha, so this is my morning ritual. Of course, with homemade Earl Grey syrup, my favorite thing in the world to have with matcha. After breakfast and just getting dressed and cleaning up some work things, I had to leave the house to go run some errands. So I had to go to the office of one of the companies that I do design work for, and I just had to pick up a few things, run by the bank, and then I decided to go to one of my favorite cafes in the Mandaluyong area, which is Type A. Their shared space in Sheridan, I think is the street. This is one of, for me, the best coffee places in Metro Manila, and I just did restock on some beans for the house. While I was booking a ride to my next destination, I took a look at some of the books and magazines that they had on stock. They always have a really interesting selection of publications to read, so I really enjoyed looking through this. After working in Type A for a couple of hours to kill the time, I had to go to Makati. I went to Sagiho, to the rehearsal studio on the second floor to practice with my bandmates. We had a gig later in this week that we were having two sessionists on for, so Mondo on bass playing for Lada and Monong on drums playing for Arvin. I always dread band practice before I get to the studio, especially because most of the really good studios are quite far from where I live. But once I step foot into a studio and I set up my mic, something in my brain clicks and I realize that I'm just gonna be singing for the next 2 to 3 hours, and I honestly, that's the thing I love to do most in the world is sing, so can't complain. And I mean, I really love my bandmates, but don't tell them that. Some of us went to have dinner at Chicken House Express, which was near the studio. Of course, I had to bust out the laptop because I was still working. After that, I went home and just went straight to sleep. The next day, of course, starting out again with caffeine. This is my coffee routine, so I don't actually have an espresso machine at home. What I do have is an AeroPress, so I just make faux espresso with it, or like espresso, like Aespresso. And you know, it's just the same, or as close to a latte as I can get, you know. After coffee and breakfast, I had to go take a quick medical test in a clinic near my house. So while I was out, I also just passed by the grocery to restock on some things, and I also picked up some treats for our dogs at home. So this is Heyman, really very excited to receive some treats. The smartest boy in the whole world, my bestest friend. I just spent the rest of my week working and spending time at home. So I think this ends today's video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.